The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the bonus show. Donald Trump is reviving this talking point that windmills that provide wind power or harness wind power are bad because they kill so many birds. Trump spoke at a New York fundraiser last week, and what's underlying this criticism of wind power is that Donald Trump continues to want to revive the coal industry. The coal industry, of course, is an industry that should fail. It should be allowed to fail because of what it represents in terms of efficiency, what it represents in terms of its impact on the climate, and what it represents in terms of its place in the free market. If we believe in free market, coal is failing and it should be allowed to fail. But Donald Trump doesn't want to let it fail. He wants to revive the coal industry. And so he is resorting to every old and debunked attack on alternative energy there is, including that windmills kill many birds. Now, it's true. It is true that these windmills do kill birds. If you are concerned about animal rights, though, coal kills a lot of animals as well, and that is not something to be ignored, combined with the absolutely disastrous climate impact of coal. So at its face, it's ridiculous to think that Trump's motivations are so influenced by animal welfare. Like, there's no indication whatsoever that for Trump, animal welfare is the main thing. But even if it were, there's all sorts of animals that are killed by coal.
Yeah, I mean, as the audience knows, I'm a big animal lover myself, but still I recognize that there are many other human causes for bird deaths that rank above windmills.
Like people having cats.
Yeah, well, I'll get to that. But windmills apparently kill something like 10 to 50,000 birds per year in the United States.
Right.
What ranks above that includes power lines, and also domestic and feral cats, unfortunately. They kill like millions of birds every year.
We should get rid of electricity. Do you realize how many birds we would save if we got rid of electricity?
Where's this electricity coming from again?
Coal.
It's the coal.
It's ridiculous. And I know that with our audience, we don't really have to debunk it. The statistics are pretty evident to people in the audience. I just want the hypocrisy to stop. If energy policy will be dictated by animal welfare, we've got to go back to the drawing board altogether, and just the windmills aren't really the problem. I don't know how else to say it. And when you consider greenhouse gas emissions and how that impacts animal life, those are the negative externalities that aren't even counted when you say, well, power lines also kill birds. What about the long-term climate impact?
It's like, I also wonder why he has to support the coal industry so vehemently, especially because the states that profit off of coal, the states with the largest, coal impact are states like West Virginia and Pennsylvania. I guess, Pennsylvania is kind of a battleground state now.
But West Virginia is voting for him.
West Virginia is going to vote for him no matter what.
Yeah.
So I don't think he has to be so in support of it.
Maybe they're just rewards to people who donated. So it's not so much that he's doing it to get votes, but he's doing it because he owes them because they donated money to him. Wasn't one of the companies that mandated that people attend some Trump thing? Wasn't it an energy company in West Virginia or
I don't remember that one.
North Carolina, maybe?
That's really interesting.
I don't remember now.
You ever hear Trump talk about clean coal?
Well, he doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
He thinks they literally take the coal and wash it instead of, carbon sequestration and all this more advanced stuff that isn't really cost effective, but it's a frequent talking point on the right.
Instead of focusing on the actual clean coal talking points, which have been widely debunked, Trump focuses on totally fantasy world ideas about what it means to clean coal. If you drive on the East Coast at all, I would say, you've probably at some point driven on I-95. This is one of the main highways that goes, I'm going off the top of my head here, I believe it starts, is it north of Boston or in Boston?
North of Boston.
North of Boston.
All the way up to Maine.
It goes all the way up to Maine. And it goes all the way down the East Coast to the tip of Florida, isn't
Miami.
it? Isn't 95? Yeah, when you're flying into Miami Airport, you will often see I-95 below you. I-95 has basically been under construction for 60 years. And what I mean by that is not that there's constant public works projects on the highway, which there are, but that there are specific routings of I-95 that were planned and not finalized. And it's literally been under construction for 60 years. It's reminiscent of the 2nd Avenue subway in New York City, which has also been under construction for, I think, something like 80 years or something like that. It's finally going to be finished. It's this area near the Pennsylvania border where drivers have been forced off of 95 and onto other roadways, and then they join back up 8 miles later. This has been a 2-decade project, nearly $500 million spent on it to get rid of this I-95 detour. And it's finally going to be finished. And it's just like, it's so stupid in a sense to even say this, because is it ever really done? A lot of the bridges are crumbling on 95. A lot of the sections are totally destroyed. There's constant work. If you look at the section between Boston and New York City, with which I'm very familiar, there's been work ever since I got my license and have been driving down there. So to say that it's done means very specifically that the original routing is now going to be possible based on this finished section. But if you're imagining that no longer will you deal with construction sites on I-95, that is not at all what I am telling you here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's an interesting story because everything's kind of coming full circle. It's like the Highway Act that Eisenhower signed finally getting completed, and maybe this was the crown jewel of that. But it's also a microcosm of how bad our infrastructure is in the United States. The fact that this took 60 years and that our bridges and roads are crumbling all over the country, and no one really has a good plan to deal with it all.
It's absolutely insane. I do want to let people know that we are just learning right now, this is breaking news as we're taping the bonus show, that Michael Cohen is preparing to plead guilty to criminal charges, Trump's attorney. I'm sure we will be talking about that on the program tomorrow. Yeah, that's quite a story. And how it relates to infrastructure spending, I don't know. But we've just been notified about that.
Where are they keeping him right now? Is
Michael
he
Cohen
outside of D.C.?
I think no, he's free on bail. I mean, he hasn't been indicted yet. That's the thing. So he's he's just a guy. He's hanging around New York City. I think
he's free to drive down 95 all the way down to Miami, maybe.
Exactly. Which I have no interest in ever doing, by the way. I used to romanticize the long road trips. And I know that you can speak to this. And I had the foresight to realize that as interesting as it might be on the way out, the way back, even if you take a different route back, I would find it miserable. And I'm glad that I've never taken on a road trip greater than like 5-6 hours to Montreal, basically.
What if you bail on the car and take a flight back? Would you do that?
Drive one way and then take a flight back?
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it. I realized I don't really like highway driving that much.
Plus, if you rent a car and you drop it off at a different place than where you picked it up, it's a lot more expensive.
Yeah,
and fun fact, the longest highway in the United States, interstate, do you know which one that is?
Is it 90?
It's 90. It goes from Boston to, I think, Oregon.
Yeah.
I've driven on it in Montana and Wyoming, and that was a trip.
Beautiful this time of year there.
Yes.
That's what I've read on the internet anyway. Okay, last thing I want to touch on today. Is Melania Trump trolling Donald Trump with her emphasis on this anti-bullying campaign? She now, at multiple opportunities, has focused on stopping bullying as like a primary goal and project of her first ladyship, if that's a phrase. And anybody who has paid attention to politics for the last 2 years knows that Trump is a bully. Trump bullies people on social media. Trump bullies people during debates. Trump insults people. Trump makes fun of people's physical appearance. He makes fun of disabled reporters. He says things about Hispanic people and black people and everybody else. So the question that is increasingly being asked is this deliberate? Is Melania Trump deliberately jabbing Donald Trump by constantly talking about how bullying is bad? And the answer is, we have no idea. I don't know exactly what her satirical sensibilities are and personality is like, because we barely ever hear from her. I know that her English as a second language skills make some of her speeches a little more difficult to decode in terms of their tone.
Yeah, she actually speaks 5 languages.
Yes, and I don't know if the other ones she speaks better or worse than English, but it's hard for me to identify her. Maybe tone's not even the word, but like it's hard for me to.
She stays out of the public spotlight, and she has the right to do that.
Oh, sure, no, but what I mean is when she speaks, it's hard for me to read between the lines, because when she gives a teleprompter speech, because English is not her first language, I find it difficult to read between the lines. So, is she trolling Donald Trump with the bullying stuff? I have no idea.
I don't think she is. And, you know, when you talk about the issues that a first lady can champion, it's kind of limited, right? Because they try to keep it apolitical. And oftentimes it has to do with health or children. So there really isn't that big of a pool of issues to choose from. So like Michelle Obama, remember her? She championed, you know, getting kids to move and exercise and healthy diet.
Yeah.
So that one's taken. We've checked off the list. I mean, no more obesity in the United States.
That's
we can move on to the next one. And Melania's decided to champion cyberbullying and bullying in general. And
Yeah, well, she knows it's a problem, I guess.
she does know it's a problem. I mean, it's a worthy cause, but she's not the right person to do it, unfortunately.
Do you, when you have, as a vegan, when a first lady makes fruits and vegetables such a strong part of her choice issues, is that inspiring to you?
That's why I think that Michelle Obama was the best first lady of all time. Some
Right.
people would say it was Eleanor Roosevelt, who of course went on to be like UN ambassador, or even Hillary Clinton had a successful political career in her own right. But
Yep.
Michelle Obama is number one because of the fruits and vegetables advocacy.
You, if you want the way to Pat's heart, turnips and carrots are going to get you 90% of the way there. And that is, I think, a really important message for people in the audience.
Because of Trump's orange complexion, I
Yeah.
actually was quite taken by him.
You assumed he was
Even-
having a ton of carrots.
Yeah, I mean, even after the presidential announcement, the whole thing about Mexicans being rapists and criminals thing, that went in one ear and out the other because I was just too focused on the complexion. I almost voted for him.
Very good. Very, very good. He's kidding. Please don't email in. Okay, that does it for today's bonus show. Is there anything else that we need to clarify or apologize for today?
Probably just the comment that I just made. But aside from that, I think we're good.
We'll cut that out of the show.
Okay.
Isn't that's like an ongoing joke now, right? Because we never cut anything out, and every time I mention that, someone emails in and says, "David, you forgot to cut that out
Oh,
of
yeah.
the show."
I always see a YouTube comment like, you forgot to cut that thing out. It's a joke. You don't get it?
The emails are serious. They really think that we forgot to cut it out. But we'll cut out this entire discussion, don't worry. All right, that's it for today. Great new program coming up tomorrow, including probably discussion of Michael Cohen's plans to plead guilty.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.